Is the Trump administration even capable of doing a righteous, justified investigation of anything, any kind? Often, that doesn't seem possible at all. But maybe there is one investigate the investigators that could be done. A real investigation of investigators. It's a favorite tactic of Trump and the MAGA right because they want to undercut any truths that are unfavorable to Trump. Hence, the investigation that took years to investigate the Russian interference investigation of the 2016 election. And now, in Trump 2, there are new investigations against those who investigated those issues, like the now indicted James Comey, former FBI director, and the grand jury probe, normally a secret process that's made a public process by the Trump White House, that grand jury probe into former CIA Director John Brennan. But there is this actually one area which could make sense to investigate the investigators. Let's get into it. But first, let me remind you to hit that subscribe button. Make us the biggest and best legal analysis and political analysis channel that there is. So, every day we see more examples of Trump supporters and allies who seem indifferent to sexual abuse of women and children. The latest issue was made very plain by this well-known commentator, news person. Take a listen.
I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls. And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts. That he wasn't into like 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types that could pass for even younger than they were, but would look legal to a passerby.
Megyn Kelly, a lawyer herself, who actually practiced law for many years. It's not like, she just got a law degree and went onto TV. Practicing lawyer, big firms, Jones Day. She is voicing a common excuse made by those charged with sexual abuse of children, which is the, quote, she looked older claim, which is not a defense at all. There certainly is no such distinction as Megyn Kelly is trying to draw on that clip between pedophilia under the age of 15 as the victim versus other kinds of sexual abuse. The law is that is rape because consent is not possible for underage people. It's not possible for minors by definition. That's the point Lawrence O'Donnell has consistently made, one of the few people to really emphasize that point clearly with the Epstein cases, which is that he raped children, period. Now, maybe Megyn Kelly is getting her audience ready, primed for more revelations about Trump himself, and wants to draw the distinction between the, quote, pedophile rings that MAGA conservatives love to talk about, and any information that might surface about Trump being aware of Epstein sexually abusing children and condoning it. But whatever her motive, it is dismissive and indifferent to sexual abuse of children as well as women. Another prominent example, back in the news, Trump's former pick to be the Attorney General of the United States, former Representative Matt Gaetz. Now, if you have time, take a deep dive into this full report. It makes it very, very clear why Gaetz resigned. We'll put the link up in the notes. You can take a look for it there if you want to take a deeper dive into it. Now, he was investigated by the Justice Department for potentially trafficking underage minors after the evidence came out about him paying for sexual services, having sex with underage girls. But the Justice Department ultimately declined to charge him, saying that one of the main witnesses, and actually they called them central witnesses, not just a single one, who was being investigated, had been questioned over this investigation for, at age 17, Gaetz having had sex with her. The Justice Department declined to bring charges, saying they were concerned, in the phrasing that a source put it as, quote, whether the central witnesses in the long-running investigation would be perceived as credible before a jury. Now, that criminal investigation into Gaetz's activities began under Trump, when Bill Barr was the Attorney General. One can understand maybe why it didn't go any place under Barr, but it did keep moving forward, and the end of the case It didn't come until 2023. That's when the department formally informed Gaetz' attorneys that they weren't bringing charges. By then, it wasn't a Republican attorney general or a Republican administration, but rather a Democratic one, meaning the Justice Department was led by Attorney General Merrick Garland. So according to reporting, the DOJ under Garland dropped the criminal case because of these concerns over whether the witnesses would be perceived as being credible to a jury. Now, I've tried a lot of sexual abuse cases. I used to work exclusively on sex crimes for a while, including child sexual abuse cases. You always have to consider whether your witnesses are credible or not. Frankly, in cases with very vulnerable victims, you have to consider the toll it takes on the victims too. So it's not completely ridiculous to be worried about credibility, but that credibility tends to be questions of, do they have an incentive to lie? Or are they telling inconsistent stories? We don't have any of that information. We don't know why they lacked confidence in how they'd come across to a jury. But we are beginning to learn more about who the witnesses were. Let me quote from this New York Times reporting just came out about the central witness, who was the child who Gaetz is accused of having had sex with when she was 17. And I'll quote from the article. She was 17 and a high school junior in Florida. She was working at McDonald's, and she was living in and out of a homeless shelter. She was hoping to save up to buy braces to fix her teeth. She falsely advertised herself in 2017 as being 18 years old on a website that matches men looking for, quote, companionship with young women looking to make money, unquote. This was the victim that the House Ethics Report found substantial evidence that Gaetz had sex with this child. And thanks to just unsealed court records, there's a lawsuit by the McGlatchy newspaper chain forcing the litigation information in a civil case to be disclosed. We've gotten this reporting about, as New York Times puts it, a, quote, then homeless 17-year-old high schooler. That girl's lawyer has confirmed this, and according to further reporting, according to the lawyer, she met Gaetz during her junior year in high school. In December 2016, she turned 17. Her parents were divorced. One of them was so poor that the parent was living in and out of homeless shelters. And the girl and her siblings stayed with that parent, or they lived with the parent in the shelter. To make extra money, she worked at McDonald's, but she began looking for other ways to make money, turned to a website that advertised itself as a sugar dating website, primarily connected older men and younger women seeking beneficial relationships. This is according to the report by the House Ethics Committee. Through that website, in April of her junior year in high school, she met a guy named Joel Greenberg, local Florida tax collector, who was becoming a friend and ally of Matt Gaetz. And the Ethics Committee heard testimony that the girl twice had sex with Gaetz on the evening that she met him. Greenberg had introduced them. Having testified she had sex with Gaetz once on a pool table or an air hockey table, there were witnesses to that. Greenberg ultimately got convicted for sex trafficking a minor. Got 10 years. Nothing for Gaetz. What's the common theme here? DOJ's failures under both Democratic and Republican administrations to hold powerful men accountable for abusing women and children. In the Epstein case, no man besides him has been charged. Meanwhile, Trump's fighting tooth and nail, basically having Mike Johnson stop the entire government from opening up to stop the release of emails, birthday card drawings, these sorts of things, which so far seem very humiliating, and they undermine Trump's denial of when he ceased contact with Epstein, what he may have known about Epstein's crimes. But let's emphasize, none of this right now implicates Trump in any crimes in terms of sex crimes. Meanwhile, though, J.P. Morgan, has reported, they'd flagged more than $1 billion in suspicious financial activity regarding Epstein. What has DOJ, any DOJ, done to follow this money trail? Under Republicans, that DOJ cut Epstein his first sweetheart deal, which is basically nothing, for the sex with an underage minor in Florida. And under DOJ, Dems dropped Gaetz' case. This theme runs across party lines, that's my point. Call for a special counsel, appoint one. It's a great save of face for Trump's DOJ. They aren't investigating Trump. but the lousy investigation by DOJ across party lines. It's bipartisan. And when they won't do it, which of course they won't, it's a chance to blame and second guess the Democrats for Congress to take a look at that. Even though DOJ wants to turn down this free shot at Democratic justice departments, Congress can make a bipartisan effort to shine some sunlight on all of this. And besides, there's already bipartisan support to release the Epstein files. That should just be the first step, because what counts is what you do with what's in those files, and more importantly, what you look at to determine what should have been done to begin with. For once, investigate the investigators could actually have some meaning. So we'll see if anybody does anything with this idea. Talk to you soon.
Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.